welcome back to another edition of the SBK Betting Podcast alongside Tom Collins and Ross Miller, as always, looking ahead to more action from both the flat and the jumps code as we near the end of the National Hunt season. So we've got a race at Haydock, the Veterans Handicap Chase at Haydock, and then 2 at Musselburgh for the flat fans. But before we get into that, we'll remind you that we will be offering you that 20% winnings boost on Saturday racing accumulated from SBK. Minimum 4 legs, you've got to opt in, so plenty to work with for Ross and TC. And TC, who's the person I'm going to start with first, because last week's winner, John Quill, won the Greenham, 12-1 put up. You must have been A, delighted with that, but B, how many Christmas presents will you be sending Andrew Balding at the moment? Because 40 winners already this season, and you always say this is the time to catch him, and he's proving that spot on.
Yeah, I think it's key to kind of notice trends with trainers where they like to win their races, whether it be the start of the season or save their horses for maybe June, July, August time, which is very much the case with the Gosdens, for example. And Balding is always someone who starts the season hot. So, yes, I'm very happy that he's continued the trend of the last few years and started in a good fashion. I thought John Quill was very, very impressive. I loved how he hit the line last Saturday. I am still very disappointed that Urban Lion couldn't provide a winning nap in the Spring Cup, just going down by a neck. I did have the double on the 2, so that's probably why I'm even more disappointed. But yeah, it was a good day anyway, Jess.
Yeah, it was. And obviously the Greenham was a key trial for the 2000 Guineas. Another one for Juddmont, who had a ultra impressive winner of the Craven for the Gosdens, who's possibly, for their standards, it was quite an early type, but to do the way that he did, field of goal, he looks like he's maybe the leading player for the 2000 Guineas come the first weekend of May. And a lot to look forward to for that outfit. But we're going to move on and focus on jumps racing before we switch back to our attentions to the flat. We've got a competitive Veterans Handicap Chase at Haydock to look at. 10 runners, but a lot of runners in here who've really gone through this series with plenty of credit. This series has become ultra sort of exhilarating and a really good place for these older horses to really show off what they can do. And I think a very good advertisement of the veteran series. So we'll go through who we have. An old fan favourite, Eldorado Allen, 100 to 30. Got the Fly Begley, he's young by veteran standards at 10. 9 to 2, Spyglass Hill, 7 to 1. The Widowmaker, 7 to 1. Dubai Days, 8 to 1, as is Numator. Bigger prices, the rest of them. What do you make of this series, Ross? Is this something that you enjoy, seeing these older boys really kind of sort of getting their confidence back?
Absolutely, Jess. It becomes very difficult for these sort of top class or bordering on top class handicappers. As soon as you get above sort of 125, you've got to be a pretty useful horse to be winning races off that sort of mark. And particularly when you're an older horse and you're subject to sort of horses coming into the handicap system with younger legs and more upside. I think these have been a really, really good initiative. I enjoy watching them. Whether they're the ideal punting medium, I'm not so sure. Particularly on this better ground, I think there will be a good portion of these that just won't go on the ground because as they get a bit older, as I'm starting to find out, the joints don't work quite so well, and things take a bit longer to recover, particularly on a firmer surface. I like one. He's been a bigger price all week, and he's actually a bit shorter now. It's Spyglass Hill for Barry Brennan. He was actually with your good friend Reggie Palace as a hunter chaser, who's obviously more famous for caring for Buzz. But he actually won I think it was Reggie's first winner, actually, in his own name. Won a hunter chase at Haydock last year on desperate ground. Really attritional. That was 2 miles 6. He won it in spite of the ground, in spite of the trip, I think. He was absolutely on vapours, but it's just his class and his determination got him through. He then went to Aintree and got a small injury at Aintree. He switched to the care of Barry Brennan. On his first start, he pulled up. I think he was desperately needed the run there. He looked pretty big in the paddock beforehand, and he ran accordingly. And then ran really nice last time, just beaten half a length by the Widowmaker, giving that horse a £6. Gets a £2 pull at the weights for a half length. That was on good ground, 2 mile 3. Was finishing pretty strongly. And I still thought in the paddock beforehand, he looked like he'd step forward again. These older horses perhaps take a run or two to get right. So the fact he pulled up, had a second, I think an extra furlong will suit him well. Barry Brennan's a small trainer, but he's pretty shrewd. I used to ride point-to-pointers with him, and he was always a pretty sharp guy then. I think this might well have been a bit of a target, and he's around about 7 to 1 with SBK. I think that's a decent price, and he'd be my selection in a race that I'll enjoy watching. I won't have a huge financial interest in it, though.
Yeah, Reggie's a man with a plan. He's pretty shrewd, and I'd say he's been eyeing this up for some time. He actually said to me after Exeter that he ran too well with an eye to this race, but I think it was a good advertisement of what good shape that they got the horse into. Obviously, he reopposes the Widowmaker. Joe Tizard had said to me, I was there at Exeter that day, that he really come back from a serious issues and injuries to his very best that day, but he'll have to raise his game again. So the Spyglass Hill for Ross there, a good price at 7-1, and John Joe O'Neill Jr., who has been riding on a bit of a crest of a wave of late and riding some good winners at both Aintree Festival and Ayr. TC, imagine this isn't the top of your priority list. He shakes his head, but for the purpose of the podcast, have you got a tip for us?
Yeah, as everyone knows, I'm firmly in flat mode now across numerous jurisdictions, so the jumps racing is very much on the back burner. I was going to say a little bit on the back burner, but very much. I will not be betting in this race, so you can take my selection with a pinch of salt if you wish. Maybe Ross's horse is the one to play here, but I thought the Flyer Begley made plenty of sense from a logical perspective. He needs fast ground, therefore he will get his conditions. All of his victories seem to come in either the autumn, when there's no rain, or the spring/start of summer. This is the right time for the horse. I thought he qualified for this race with a pretty tentative ride, let's say, back in February, being freshened up. And as you said, when you're reading out prices, he is a young veteran. He's a 10-year-old, only just qualifies for these series races. So I think there's still some upside in the Flyer Begley. But yeah, I won't be having a play here, Jess.
Okay, Flyer Begley, if you're following TC, but Ross is keen on Spyglass Hill and that Veterans Chase, a day which is going to be very important for Dan Skelton. Every day is at the moment. Willie Mullins has got a selection of horses everywhere. He's got plenty going to Plumpton for the Sussex National, and it's still all to play for in the race to the Trainers Championship, and it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's definitely something to talk about as we near the end of the jump season. But with as TC has said, we're very much in flat mode now, and it's up to Musselburgh we go for the feature race meeting on Saturday for the flat action. And we got a small matter of the Scottish Sprint Cup that we're going to look at first. So Class 2, we've got 50 grand on offer, 5 furlong sprint. And TC, I suppose we'll come back to you first because it's been a while since I've asked you about things like the draw and where we need to be in a racetrack like Musselburgh. But for the purpose of this and having a look at some of those at the top of the betting here, where you got the likes of American Affair draw 9 of 9 runners. Paul Moran and Jim Goldie team up. They've normally a pretty lethal combination. Is that positive for a horse like that? Is that where you want to be? The next best in is drawn 5 in Gerbat. It's just you need to refresh our memory.
Yeah, so high draws are the place to be on the sprint track at Musselburgh. There's no doubt about it. But it depends on the type of horse you've got. With this favourite, American Affair, he's a bit of a closer. He's ridden in the standard way that Jim Goldie sprinters are ridden by Paul Mulrennan. Come out at the back, sit there nice and pretty, look for a gap through horses and try to finish off the race well. That is not ideal for still 9 of 9. There is a strong chance he's going to get penned in against the rail. And we've seen this numerous times, year over year over year. These horses that are drawn high, that want to be ridden patiently, just don't get a clear run. And that is a big concern for me. Look, if you're drawn high and you're on a forward-going type, that is a massive advantage. But this horse that's at the top of the market isn't that type. So I want to be opposing him. I want to be on a horse that is relatively prominent in the race. They don't need to be leading as such, but I want them in the first half, let's say. And I think Gerbat will be ridden that way for David and Nicola Barron, who actually won this race 2 years ago, so they know what it takes to plunder it. Gerbat's a bit of a frustrating type, but he goes very well fresh. He has form figures fresh, a 5.14. The 5 and the 4 were solid efforts as well in better races than this. He absolutely hacked up on his sole previous start at Musselburgh, which is a big positive. And I think this horse is going to be ready to go fresh. They haven't had a winner, the trainer combo, for 72 days, I think it is. So that's not a positive, but it is at the start of the season. Obviously, much of that time was during the all-weather campaign. So I'm willing to overlook it. And I'll side with Gerbat. I like the draw in 5. Hopefully he can sit in that second flight and be produced late.
Yeah, sadly, Andrew Balding has set nothing up to the Scottish Sprint Cup, other those who are following it. It's very sort of a northern-based trainers, bar the team of Simon Ned Crisford, who said cover up, but we've got Northern Sorts heading up to Musselburgh. And I suppose with Gerbat, he's another one that's coming off a break, hasn't been seen for 175 days since running nicely at Doncaster. And I suppose with this time of year, Ross, it is that, who can go fresh after the break, who looks like they're starting on a decent enough mark with the whole season ahead of them. And there probably are targets that these trainers set, these sprinters, that they think they're really going to come into their own. Some can take a bit of time to really find their feet. But there's also those horses that have been wintering in quite a busy manner. So that might be one side or the other side of the coin that you look at this race from.
Yeah, absolutely. I think whatever TC's really hit on Andrew Balding, and I've written it in block capital letters all around my office for next year because he said it last year, and I didn't take heed this year, so more for me. But other than that, we were discussing before we came on air that the weather has meant that some horses are more forward than others. I just think whatever you're doing at this time of year, managing your staking is really important unless you feel like TC that you've got a real strong angle on a trainer, on a horse, because you will get just horses that take a little bit longer and some come down a little bit quicker. A bit like the Veterans Chase for TC, this is not my bag really, but I do like Mon the Sleeve. Now, I had a very clear memory, and I went back to my notes. I loved this horse. He made a winning debut at York as a 2-year-old. It was a decent maiden, and he won it in spite of a few things that played out. I was pretty keen on him going to Ascot. He didn't run badly there, but I think he finished 8th or 9th, didn't run great. And they just lost him completely after that. And for about 2 years, he's done nothing. I've backed him and tipped him plenty of times. And you look back and kind of wonder why, because he didn't really show very much at all, other than still looking like he had a bit of pace through certain parts of races, and then bounced right back to form last time over this course and distance. Won very easily indeed. I mean, that was off a massively dropped mark of 77, but he looked like the horse that, in the manner he went through the race, albeit a lesser race, he looked like the horse that had won at York all those years ago. Horses are strange creatures, and if they just get a bit of confidence, it's amazing what they can do. He's up £5. He's from the exact same draw in stall 6 as last time. We know he's in good form. We know he likes the track. The draw is no issue whatsoever. And £5 up to 82. Well, if you'd have said to me he'd have been running off a mark of 82 in handicaps after that York debut, I'd have thought he was pretty well handicapped. So call it sentiment, call it what you like. I do think he's got a decent chance, and 4-1 didn't seem the worst price.
Yeah, 4-1, same price as Gerbat for Mon the Sleeve. He's a classic case of a horse that's just he's really had to pay the price of winning first time out from a handicap perspective. He started off with a rating of 90, which was probably a bit tough and unrealistic, and then sort of trying to refine where you are at that mould, and the 3-year-old career sort of went away from him. But now they've got him at his best, and sometimes sprinters do get better as they get a little bit older. So let's see how Mon the Sleeve does, and if he can back up that course and distance success. Just 17 days ago, Gerbat also a course and distance winner for TC. Yeah, so we've gone from one extreme to the other, from a veterans chase to the Sprint Cup to another extreme. The next one we're going to look at is the Queen's Cup. 3:35 at Musselburgh, got 1 mile 6 furlongs. So I suppose this ticks the box for both TC and Ross. You've got sort of staying types, which I know Ross likes, and you've got the flat action, which I know like TC likes. So we'd like to keep everyone happy. And this is where Align the Stars tops the betting for Charlie Johnson and for Joe Fanning, who kind of slightly under the radar has come back because he had a really nasty injury at the end of last year. I can see from his race record he has been busy, but I haven't seen that many winners yet. But Align the Stars will hope to give him a good one to begin the season at 92. Got Wild Waves for Andrew Balding, Oisin Murphy at 5-1. So be interested to hear the thoughts on that one from TC. Merrick for Carl Burke is 7s. Wise Eagle is also 7-1 at Chillingham, 10-1, as is Emian and Kiever, and bigger prices the rest of them. So I think it's an obvious place to start, TC. What do you make of this Andrew Balding runner, Wild Waves?
Well, I'm going to do something in this race I don't usually do, and that is play 2 horses, splitting my stakes across them. Ross has done it to great effect at the festivals and on some Saturdays as well. Generally, I just stick with one and kind of hope that my assessment of the race is right. But in here, I couldn't split these 2. Wild Waves is one of them. I think he's got a great chance for Andrew Balding, whose horses are quite clearly flying, as we've talked about over the last couple of weeks. He's rated 100. I'm pretty sure that's a workable mark. And if you go back to his victories last year, I thought he was super impressive on both of them. Most importantly, in that Doncaster race in June, which I thought was pretty hot in terms of handicaps, as they go for 3-year-olds. he looked like he wasn't going to be my selection in the race. I actually think I tipped against him. But the way he won was really impressive. Now, he was pitched into some difficult races towards the back end of the season, but he did finish fourth in a big field handicap at York, which I thought was solid. And Andrew Balding has subsequently said in a stable tour, it depends if you believe stable tours or not, but he subsequently said he thinks this horse is a stakes caliber runner, a horse that should be running enlisted or group races by the end of the year. So off a mark of 100, given how well the stable's going, from a good draw, I have to play Wild Waves at 5-1. I think it's a very fair price. But I can't overlook Wise Eagle, who won this race last year. I really respect the horse. He's been campaigned, I imagine, to come back here and win again. I like that he's fit off the jumps. And he ran pretty well the other day, despite losing at a relatively short price. Travelled nicely for a long way. His penultimate start at Newcastle on the flat, okay, completely different track on the weather compared to the turf here at Musselburgh, I thought suggested that he is well capable of winning off a mark in the 100s. And obviously in the last 12 months, he's gone up in the ratings. So that was a question mark coming in. So at 7-1, I'll play Wise Eagle. And at 5-1, I'll play Wild Waves. And hopefully one of them will win.
Yeah, two horses sort of contrasting profiles, aren't they? You've got a 4-year-old on the up, Wild Waves, who ran in the Ledger last time he was seen, and they actually put him up £5. And this could be a very interesting season for him going forward, and to see if he can materialise into a stakes performer at these staying trips. And Wise Eagle has just been a cracking servant to Adam Nicol. He's sort of been around the block. They tried him in a Ascot Gold Cup, and he's probably at his level, and he's very reliable. So I think that's a fair play to split your stakes with them. Wise Eagle at 7-1, Wild Waves at 5-1. Ross, for you, would you be more on the side of a horse that's sort of on the up, or would you like to see a horse that you kind of know where you're at with them?
Well, I really like Wise Eagle. I think he's been brilliantly campaigned by Adam Nichols, picked up really cheap, but I'd have been putting him up from perhaps sentimental purposes, and we know that's an absolute no-no in the presence of Tipping Tom. So I've gone with La Pulga. Thought ran really well first try at this trip last time, beaten just 1.5 lengths behind Wonder Legend. Wonder Legend was off 94 on that occasion, has won again since, finished second again since, now rated 100. La Pulga runs here off a mark of 90. I thought the trip looked perfectly workable last time. The ground currently is good, but there's plenty of breeze around. I wouldn't be surprised if it rides a little bit quicker than that. La Pulga's 2 wins on the turf have come on good ground and good to firm ground, so I don't mind if it goes a little bit drier. I just thought there's still plenty of upside at these trips. You know, it's not a horse that's been soured by too many goes over marathon trips, so I think there's the upside. The one concern is Charlie Johnston's stable form is probably converse to Andrew Balding's 1 from 30. They've been running well enough though, and the couple that were beaten at Newmarket this week almost ran badly because they ran too fresh in the early stages. It is a concern, but it's a 12-1 selection each way. I'd be happy enough if it gets a bit tired in the final half furlong, as long as it runs on into a place. So La Pulga for me, but I completely respect Wise Eagle for Tom Collins.
Okay, yeah, a lot of sentiment, and definitely a huge amount of respect for, as you say, the way that they campaigned him, and also giving him that opportunity to show what he could do over hurdles. Not a bad horse indeed, but I think they've always thought that this, I'd imagine this race has been on their agenda, considering how well he won it last year. But look, La Pulga as an each way shout in the same race, and that finishes off our previews of the feature races this weekend. The Queen's Cup got the 14 runners coming at 3:35. Obviously, it's a big weekend in Ireland at Fairyhouse. You've got the Irish Grand National, which is a focal point, but that comes on Easter Monday. So we've got good racing, whether you're a flat fan or a jumps fan, and we'll also, if you really want to get all the way to the end, you've got Wolverhampton as well for TC. So I'm going to start with you, and you can tell me what you've got from a mixed bag of racing this weekend.
Yeah, I found it quite difficult to find Napa next best, to be honest with you. Obviously, I'm not really looking at jumps racing this time of year. I will have a look at the cards, and I have already, but nothing really stood out to me instantly. So I thought we'll stick to the flat. And there isn't a great flat offering, is there? So I did end up coming down to Wolverhampton for the Nap, and the next best is over in Ireland, which is something I very, very rarely do. But hopefully we can provide a winner or two. The Nap is probably going to be a short price. It's Slow Down Barney in the 7:30 at Wolves. I'll be covering this on Sky, so I have had a good look at the card already. And this 4-year-old is only 1 from 16 in his career. He was actually 0 from 15 prior to his recent start. He is very gawky. He sticks his head up when he hits the front. He hasn't got that much ability, but he stays. He's in good form. I love the booking of Tom Marquand, who has 3 rides at Wolverhampton on Saturday, all of which have plausible winning claims. And if this horse just reproduces his last run off a slightly higher mark, £7 higher, I think he'll get the job done. It's a very weak race. And he should justify what I believe will be favouritism. The next best, it comes at Cork in Ireland in the 125. And it's a horse called Tashir. Firstly, I would never really tip over in Ireland. Secondly, I don't really look at maidens in Ireland with that much detail. And thirdly, I don't love Johnny Murtagh first up, but I'm kind of breaking all the rules this week. This horse has a lovely pedigree by Kingman out of a Lope de Vega mare who won over 1.25 miles. Stamina should be the strong suit for this horse, but Kingman obviously provides that extra bit of speed. The debut where this horse was second was super encouraging. The winner came back to place in Group 2 and Group 3 company for Aidan O'Brien. The third and fourth have won since. The fifth was placed in a handicap of 74. And I think this horse is well capable of being a 90-plus rated animal this season. And hopefully he can make a winning reappearance. To be fair to Johnny Murtagh, he's done pretty well to start the campaign. I think he's had 5 winners over the last 2 weeks, which suggests his horses are more forward than they usually are. So, I'll take Tashir in the 125 at Cork as my next best.
Okay, yeah, from the family of the great Tanawa, and obviously Johnny Murtagh gets a lot of support from the family of the late His Highness the Aga Khan, so he'll be hoping that can be an above average sort, as does TC. So Tashir and Sodan Barney at Wolverhampton. What do you like, Ross? Play a good jumps action for you.
Yeah, going to the jumps. But just pick up on what TC said about the fact it's and TC loves the flat. This is his time of year, and he can't really find much to get stuck into. You just know the person that's making the team that are putting together this race calendar. They wear odd socks. They just don't think, because you've had the Greenham, Craven building up, and then nothing. You imagine Breaking Bad, 2 episodes of Walter White, doing his thing, and then episode 3 he's cutting the grass and doing the food shop. I mean, it just doesn't work, does it? It's nonsense. They've got to get it sorted, because it's for someone like me that is reluctant to jump over to the flat. This sort of thing, it just makes me go back to the jumps and not engage. So my rant over my selections are over the jumps. It won't surprise you. The Nap 205 at Haydock, quite a nice bit of symmetry actually. He was one of my winning naps earlier in the season. Give me 5 for Harry Derham. The reason early in the season was that I thought it would have been the target to win the Marston Hurdle at Cheltenham as a 4-year-old. He did that. He's clearly not been suited by soft winter ground through the middle of the winter. I think this will have been target number 2 for the season, if I'm honest. He won very nicely indeed last time out at Newcastle off a mark of 128. He's up £4. That's not going to stop him. I mean, just on the bare form of the Cheltenham win, he beat Dodge Along. Dodge Along went and had a really good season. Sadly, ill-fated Dodge Along. When he departed, he was rated 135. There's just no way that Gimme 5 can't be better than 132 on good ground that he's going to really enjoy. Harry Derham, we've heard plenty about his tough season with his gallop washing away and all that sort of stuff, but he's getting them back into form. He likes to target these spring meetings at Haydock, and I think Gimme 5 will win the 205. And then I'm going to Newton Abbot for the next best, the 159, walk on high for Harry Fry. I'm always a bit reluctant to put up horses that seem to have a habit of finishing runner-up, particularly at fairly short prices, and he's done that the last twice. Once in a handicap at Taunton, and then at Fontwell, a last time of 2 mile, 1 in a maiden, where he came there absolutely travelling, like by far the best horse, and it was one of those slightly infuriating rides where it was a bit non-committal, I thought, in terms of whether you're going to wait and challenge late or go on and get the race won. Bulldozed the final 2 hurdles, lost loads of momentum, and couldn't really get organised up the hill at Fontwell in the closing stages. But I think it's still interesting they come back to a maiden when they could go into handicap company now. I think they clearly feel that this is a weak enough maiden to win. The step up a furlong in trip, 2 mile 2 will suit him. Doesn't seem to do anything very quickly. And I think Walk on High will win a maiden. And that might be the first and only win he gets for a while, because I think his handicap might be a bit high. But I think he should be good enough to win this, the 159 from Newton Abbot.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So, and I would agree with that, Ross, and it makes me think as in the race planning, and it's just sort of when you think about what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks, where we've got Punchestown and we've got the Guineas meeting at the same time, and why? And I know it's different race planning, different countries, but why we have to then again split our attentions. It's a bit like the Dubai World Cup and Aintree. It just seemed like it was unnecessary when you feel like you've suddenly got a bit of a barren point, but then in Ireland you've got Fairyhouse, and that's probably taking precedence. So it's all a bit of it's all can get very jumbled up. But yeah, the flat offerings this weekend, as much as Musselburgh is putting on a good race card, is not of the same quality that we might have seen this over the last week, especially with classic trials being very important and a good stepping stone for the rest of the season. But I will add with my nap and next best before we go on too much of a tangent. I like Tiny Tetley in the 240 at Haydock on Saturday for Philip Hobbs and Johnson White, who've had a really excellent season. Callum Pritchard's had an even better season as well. He was actually on this horse a couple of times, 3 times I should say, this season, all coming around some of his favourite tracks like Taunton and Exeter. But he actually ran a really good race at Haydock back in January time on soft ground. I think this horse prefers better going conditions. He has gone right up in the handicap after bolting up in a sort of heck and spoon race really at Taunton last time. He clearly is taking his racing very well at this time of year. This is a slightly better race, but I think he's got his conditions really to suit him, and I'm hopeful that he can add to what's already been a pretty profitable last few months. So Tiny Tetley for me. And then back to the race that we featured, I've got another option for you in the Queen's Cup. Merrick has got top weight. It's a tough ask for him, shouldering that amount of weight, but I think it's interesting that they're trying 1 mile 6 for the first time, because he definitely looked like he was staying on strongly at Kempton last time. He's a horse that needs a solid pace to aim at. He won't want them to dawdle. He's really been found out by how free he's been. He was so free at Goodwood. He was with Roger Varian, and then, as we know, there was a big split up between Sheikh Mohammed Obaid and Roger Varian, and he went off to Carl Burks, and he's run solid enough. But I think getting him to settle, switch off, having a good pace to aim at, he could come into his own over a distance a little bit further. And I think the Son of Frankel could be maybe an each way play if you choose to add him to the other options that Ross and TC have given you. So that is this weekend's action completed. Plenty for you to think about if you're getting involved with the Saturday Racing ACCA. There's 20 winnings boost on that. You've got that minimum of 4 legs. We've got lots for you to consider. So thanks to TC and to Ross. Just to let you know that you can listen to the SBK Betting Podcast in the app itself. Just make your way to the horse racing page and click play. All new SBK users, you'll get £30 in free bets when you sign up and bet £10 for the first time. And make sure to head to SBK for lots of other offers and promotions throughout the weekend. Thank you very much. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you very soon.